Chapter 1. The Last Distress Signal. The planet Elira had sent its final distress beacon. Once famous for its peaceful cities and brilliant scientists, it had become surrounded by an unstoppable alien armada, known as the Void Dominion. Every neighboring civilization received the signal, and every one of them refused to help. The cost is too high, they said. Within hours, Elira stood alone. Then a single unknown fleet appeared on long-range scanners. It carried no Galactic Alliance banner, only one word: humanity. Chapter 2. The Council's Shame. Far away, the Galactic Council watched the invasion unfold. Some members lowered their eyes in guilt. Others insisted that abandoning Elira was the only logical choice. The Dominion has never lost a war. No fleet survives them. Then the Council's sensors detected the approaching human ships. Confusion filled the chamber. They weren't invited. They weren't asked. So, why are they coming? No one had an answer. Chapter 3. The Human Broadcast. As the Dominion prepared to destroy the last orbital station, every communication channel across the sector suddenly changed. A calm human admiral appeared. His voice carried no fear. No civilization deserves extinction because others are afraid. If you stand alone today, you stand with humanity. The transmission ended. Human engines flared brighter than stars. The rescue fleet accelerated toward the battlefield. Chapter 4. The Enemy Laughs. Dominion commanders studied the incoming fleet. Only a few hundred human warships against thousands of Dominion vessels. The alien commanders laughed. Another species choosing suicide. They ordered only a small attack group forward. It will be enough. But the humans kept advancing without slowing down. Not one ship turned away. Chapter 5. Hope Returns. Inside Elira's underground shelters, civilians watched the human fleet enter orbit. For the first time in weeks, children smiled. Doctors returned to abandoned hospitals. Engineers restarted emergency power stations. One elderly survivor whispered, "They came. They actually came." And above the burning world, human warships formed a defensive wall between Elira and the greatest invasion fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The battle for hope was about to begin. Chapter 6. The First Volley. The Dominion fired first. Thousands of crimson plasma bolts streaked toward the human line, bright enough to eclipse the nearby stars. The human fleet didn't scatter. Instead, every ship locked into formation. Blue defensive shields overlapped, creating a single glowing barrier that absorbed the opening barrage. The Dominion commanders frowned. That wasn't supposed to happen. Chapter 7. Operation Shield Wall. Phase 1 complete, Admiral Ethan Hayes said calmly. Human destroyers surged forward while carriers remained behind the shield network. Autonomous drones flooded into space like a metallic storm. Instead of charging recklessly, the humans slowed the Dominion advance, forcing the enemy into carefully prepared kill zones. The battle had become a chess match, and humanity had made the first move. Chapter 8. The Forgotten Defenders. Eliran soldiers had expected to die defending their world. Now they watched human dropships descend through the atmosphere. Thousands of Marines landed beside exhausted local defenders. One human captain removed his helmet and smiled. "We're here. Let's save your home together." For the first time in weeks, the Elirans believed victory might still be possible. Chapter 9. Dominion Surprise. Dominion scouts reported unexpected losses. Entire attack squadrons had disappeared. Human stealth frigates were striking supply convoys far behind enemy lines. Fuel depots exploded. Communication relays vanished. The Dominion offensive began. slowing for reasons its commanders couldn't explain. The humans weren't just fighting the enemy. They were dismantling the invasion itself. Chapter 10. One Impossible Stand. Near Elira's northern orbital station, a single human cruiser found itself surrounded by more than 50 Dominion warships. The enemy demanded surrender. The human captain laughed. "We didn't come here to survive. We came here to make sure Elira does." The cruiser fired every weapon at once, holding the line long enough for civilian evacuation ships to escape into deep space. Across the planet, millions witnessed the sacrifice. The defenders realized something extraordinary. Humanity wasn't fighting because victory was guaranteed. They were fighting because someone had to. Chapter 11. The counterattack begins. The Dominion believed the humans were only delaying defeat. They were wrong. Admiral Hayes gave a single order: advance. Every human warship accelerated at once. Instead of retreating under pressure, the fleet punched straight through the Dominion's center, splitting the invasion force into two isolated groups. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion was forced onto the defensive. Chapter 12. The Hidden Weakness. Human intelligence officers analyzed hours of battle data. One pattern stood out. Every Dominion fleet relied on a massive command ship to coordinate thousands of vessels. Without it, enemy formations became slow and confused. Hayes smiled. "We don't need to destroy their entire fleet. We only need to cut off its head." A dangerous new mission was approved immediately. Chapter 13. Ghost Squadron. 5 experimental human stealth corvettes slipped silently behind enemy lines. Their engines produced almost no detectable energy. Dominion sensors searched endlessly, but found nothing. The squadron reached the command ship undetected. Every crew member knew the odds. No one asked to turn back. Chapter 14. Fire in the Darkness. The stealth ships opened fire together. Precision missiles slammed into the command vessel's shield generators. Explosions ripped across its massive hull. Dominion escorts rushed to defend their flagship, but the attack had already succeeded. Communications across the invasion fleet became distorted. Orders arrived late. Some never arrived at all. Chaos spread through the enemy ranks. Chapter 15. Humanity's Promise. Watching from the surface, the Illyron people saw Dominion ships colliding with one another as their formations collapsed. Human forces seized the opportunity. Every available fighter and cruiser pushed forward. An Illyron commander looked toward the human fleet in disbelief. "You cross the galaxy, lead as strangers." Admiral Hayes answered over the open channel. "Today you're strangers. Tomorrow you're family." Across every surviving city, cheers echoed through the shelters as hope returned stronger than ever before. But far beyond the battlefield, the true ruler of the void, Dominion had finally awakened, and it was coming to Elira itself. Chapter 16. The Overlord Arrives. The celebration ended in an instant. Long-range sensors detected a massive gravitational distortion beyond the edge of the system. Space itself seemed to bend. Then it emerged. A fortress-sized flagship, larger than entire cities, escorted by thousands of fresh Dominion warships. Silence filled every command bridge. The Supreme Overlord had arrived. Chapter 17. A Message to Humanity. A transmission spread across every frequency. The Overlord's deep voice echoed through space. "Humans, you fight for a species that is not your own. You have one chance. Leave this system, and your worlds will remain untouched." The bridge of the human flagship fell silent. Admiral Hayes listened carefully. Then he pressed the reply button. No. Just one word. It was enough. Chapter 18. standing together. The Illyran leaders gathered inside their underground command center. "We cannot ask humanity to die for us," one elder said. But before anyone could respond, human transport ships landed across the planet. They unloaded food, medicine, repair drones, and emergency generators. Human engineers worked beside Illyran volunteers without hesitation. The people realized something important. Humanity hadn't come only to fight. They had come to save lives. Chapter 19. The Impossible Plan. Human strategists studied the Overlord's flagship. Its armor was nearly indestructible. Its shields had never been broken. A direct assault would fail. Then a young officer noticed something unusual. The flagship drew enormous amounts of energy every few minutes. During those brief moments, its shields weakened slightly, only for seconds. Hayes nodded. "Seconds are all we need." Chapter 20. The Calm Before the Storm. Across the fleet, pilots prepared their fighters. Marines checked their armor. Engineers loaded experimental weapons that had never been tested in combat. No one knew how many would survive. Before the battle began, Admiral Hayes addressed every ship. "We were not born to watch innocent worlds fall. We were born to stand when others cannot." Thousands of human voices answered as one. "We stand together." Chapter 21. Into the Fire. The human fleet charged without hesitation. Railguns thundered across space, launching tungsten slugs at incredible speed. Dominion shields shimmered under the relentless impacts while carriers released thousands of fighters. The Overlord watched silently. "So, humanity has chosen extinction." No human ship changed course. Chapter 22. The Breach Team. Hidden beneath the chaos, one stealth shuttle raced toward the Overlord's flagship. Inside were 12 members of humanity's elite boarding unit, Ghost Team. Their objective was simple: disable the flagship's shield core. Escape was optional. Mission success was not. The shuttle disappeared into the shadows of the colossal vessel. Chapter 23. The Cost of Courage. The battle intensified. Human destroyers deliberately placed themselves between Dominion fire and the evacuation ships carrying Illyran civilians. One destroyer absorbed dozens of direct hits. Its engines failed. Its weapons fell silent. Yet its captain transmitted one final message: "Keep the civilians moving. We've got this." The burning ship drifted into the enemy formation, forcing Dominion vessels to scatter and buying precious minutes for the evacuation fleet. Chapter 24. Inside the Beast. Ghost Team entered the flagship through a maintenance tunnel. The corridors stretched for kilometers. Everything was silent. Too silent. Motion sensors suddenly flashed red. Heavy Dominion guards poured into the passageways. Commander Sarah Cross raised her rifle. Mission first. The firefight echoed through the giant warship as the team fought room by room, refusing to fall back. Chapter 25. A Galaxy Watches. News of humanity's stand spread faster than the battle itself. Civilizations that had abandoned Illyra watched the live transmissions in stunned silence. They expected humans to retreat. Instead, they saw them advancing against impossible odds. One council representative whispered, "We left Illyra to save ourselves." Another answered quietly, "And yet, the humans are saving all of us." Far above the planet, Ghost Team reached the first security gate protecting the shield core. Beyond that door lay the only chance to defeat the Supreme Overlord. Chapter 26. The Shield Core. Ghost Team forced open the final security gate. Beyond it stood the flagship's shield core, towering sphere of blue energy suspended by magnetic fields. Commander Sarah Cross scanned the system. If we overload this reactor, the shields will collapse. The problem was obvious. Someone would have to stay behind to trigger the sequence manually. No one argued. Everyone already knew the cost. Chapter 27. The Overlord's Secret. On the bridge of the flagship, the Supreme Overlord watched the battle unfold. He activated a hidden weapon. A wave of black energy erupted from the flagship, disabling dozens of nearby ships, Dominion and human alike. His own commanders stared in shock. "You sacrificed our fleet," the Overlord replied coldly. "Victory requires obedience, not survival." For the first time, even Dominion officers questioned their ruler. Chapter 28. Humanity Adapts. Human ships drifted powerless for only a few seconds. Then backup systems came online. Engineers had anticipated an electromagnetic attack years earlier. Manual controls took over. Weapons fired again. The Dominion commanders couldn't believe it. They adapted. During the battle, Admiral Hayes smiled. "We always prepare for the unexpected." Chapter 29. The Volunteer. Ghost Team connected the overload device to the shield core. A countdown appeared. 5 minutes. Commander Cross looked at her squad. "I'll stay." Another soldier stepped forward. "No, Commander. The mission needs you alive." One by one, every member volunteered. Finally, Sergeant Daniel Brooks quietly said, "I don't have a family waiting. Let me finish this." Silence filled the chamber. Then Cross nodded. "You'll never be forgotten." Chapter 30. The Fall of the Shield. The shuttle carrying Ghost Team escaped the flagship with seconds to spare. Brooks remained alone beside the glowing reactor. He pressed the activation switch. The shield core erupted in a blinding explosion. Across the battlefield, the impossible happened. The Overlord's massive flagship lost its shields. Every human vessel immediately locked onto the exposed target. Admiral Hayes gave the order the fleet had been waiting for. All batteries. Fire. Thousands of human weapons lit up the darkness, and the galaxy held its breath as the decisive strike began. Chapter 31. The Final Barrage. The human fleet unleashed everything. Railguns roared. Missiles streaked across the darkness. Energy lances carved glowing scars into the Overlord's flagship. For the first time in its long history, the colossal warship began to crack. The impossible was becoming reality. Chapter 32. The Overlord Strikes Back. Smoke filled the flagship's bridge, but the Overlord remained calm. Activate the Oblivion Cannon. A massive weapon emerged from beneath the ship. Its energy signature dwarfed every weapon seen before. It slowly turned toward Elira. If it fired, the planet would be erased. There would be no second chance. Chapter 33. The Human Sacrifice. Admiral Hayes made his decision. Every available cruiser accelerated toward the cannon. They formed a living shield between the weapon and the planet. One captain asked, "What are our survival chances?" Hayes answered honestly, "Very low." The captain smiled. "Then let's make every second count." Not a single ship broke formation. Chapter 34. The Galaxy Wakes Up. Across the Galactic Council, leaders watched humanity prepare to sacrifice itself for a world that wasn't even their own. The silence became unbearable. Then an unexpected transmission arrived. A neighboring civilization announced, "We are joining the fight." Another followed. Then another. Dozens of fleets that had once abandoned Elira now jumped into the system. Humanity had reminded the galaxy what courage looked like. Chapter 35. No one fights alone. As Allied fleets entered the battlefield, the Dominion found itself surrounded. The Overlord stared in disbelief. What changed? An Illyran commander answered over an open channel. You thought fear was stronger than hope. You were wrong. The combined fleets advanced together, while the human ships remained at the front, leading the charge. For the first time in generations, the galaxy wasn't divided. It stood united, and the final battle had only just begun. Chapter 36. The United Charge. The arrival of Allied fleets transformed the battlefield. Ships bearing dozens of different flags accelerated beside the human armada. For the first time in centuries, former rivals fought as one. Admiral Hayes opened a fleet-wide channel. Today, we don't fight as separate worlds. We fight as one galaxy. Cheers echoed across every bridge. Chapter 37. The Cannon Fires. The Overlord refused to surrender. With a roar that shook space itself, the Oblivion Cannon fired. A beam of dark energy raced toward Elira. Human cruisers immediately intercepted it. Their shields shattered. Several ships were lost, but the beam weakened just enough. The remaining energy was absorbed by the planet's emergency defense grid. Elira survived. The crews who gave their lives had saved an entire civilization. Chapter 38. Boarding the flagship. With the flagship badly damaged, Admiral Hayes ordered the final operation. Board the enemy flagship. Hundreds of human marines launched in armored assault pods. Explosions ripped through the hull as boarding teams entered from multiple directions. Inside, fierce fighting erupted through vast corridors. Every step brought them closer to the Overlord's command bridge. Chapter 39. Face to Face. The bridge doors burst open. Admiral Hayes, accompanied by a small squad, confronted the Supreme Overlord. The towering ruler stood before a massive observation window, watching his fleet collapse. You have cost me an empire, the Overlord growled. Hayes answered without fear. No, you destroyed your own empire the day you believed fear was stronger than freedom. The Overlord drew an energy blade. So be it. The final duel began. Chapter 40. A New Dawn. The battle was fierce. The Overlord's strength was overwhelming, but he relied only on power. Hayes relied on strategy. Using the damaged bridge around him, he trapped the Overlord beneath collapsing machinery. The tyrant reached for his weapon one last time. Hayes offered him a chance to surrender. The Overlord refused. Moments later, the flagship's failing reactor erupted. Hayes and his team escaped aboard a rescue shuttle as the colossal vessel exploded behind them. Across the battlefield, Dominion ships powered down. Their ruler was gone. The war that had terrified the galaxy for generations was finally over. Chapter 41. Silence After the Storm. For the first time in generations, the battlefield was quiet. The wreckage of thousands of warships drifted through space. Rescue teams from every allied world searched for survivors, friend and former enemy alike. Human medics treated anyone who needed help. To them, the war was over. Saving lives had become the new mission. Chapter 42. The Council returns. The Galactic Council arrived above Elira. Its leaders expected anger from the humans. Instead, Admiral Hayes welcomed them aboard peacefully. One council elder lowered his head. We abandoned Elira, and we abandoned you, Hayes replied. What matters isn't who failed yesterday. It's who stands together tomorrow. The chamber fell silent. Chapter 43. A Hero's Farewell. A memorial was held for those who never returned. Among the honored names was Sergeant Daniel Brooks. His sacrifice had shattered the flagship shields and changed the course of history. An Illyrian child placed a single white flower beneath his memorial. He saved people he never met. Across the crowd, thousands of humans and Illyrans stood together in respectful silence. Chapter 44. humanity's choice. The Council offered humanity a permanent seat as the supreme military power of the galaxy. Many expected Admiral Hayes to accept. Instead, he smiled. We didn't fight to rule. We fought so no one would ever stand alone again. Rather than claiming authority, humanity proposed a new alliance where every civilization had an equal voice. Even the oldest council members were left speechless. Chapter 45. A Promise for the Future. Cities on Elira began to rebuild. Human engineers worked alongside Eliran architects, while schools and hospitals reopened. Children who had once hidden underground now laughed beneath open skies. As the first sunrise after the war lit the planet, Admiral Hayes looked toward the horizon. This is why we fought. Not for glory, not for conquest, but for the chance that every world could wake up to a peaceful tomorrow. The galaxy had survived. Its future was only beginning. Chapter 46. The New Alliance. 1 year after the war, representatives from hundreds of civilizations gathered above Elira. This time, there were no threats, no fleets prepared for battle. Instead, they signed the Treaty of United Worlds, promising that no civilization would ever again face extinction alone. The first signature belonged to humanity. Chapter 47. The Legend Spreads. Across the galaxy, children learned the story of Elira, not as a tale of war, but as a lesson in courage. They learned that when every civilization turned away, one species refused to abandon strangers. Humanity became known by a new title, the Guardians of Hope. Chapter 48. A Final Visit. Before returning to Earth, Admiral Hayes visited the Eliran Memorial Garden. Thousands of names were engraved in crystal walls. He stopped before Sergeant Daniel Brooks' memorial. Quietly, he saluted. You kept your promise. You saved a world. Around him, Eliran families stood in silence, honoring the human heroes who had given everything for people they had never known. Chapter 49. Humanity's Message. A final broadcast was sent to every star system. Admiral Hayes spoke one last time. Strength is not measured by the worlds you conquer. It is measured by the lives you protect. If one civilization cries for help, let the entire galaxy answer. His words echoed far beyond Elira, becoming the guiding principle of the new alliance. Chapter 50. Until the humans arrived. Years later, travelers often asked why peace had lasted so long. The answer was always the same. Because the galaxy remembered the day fear was defeated by courage. The day abandoned worlds discovered they were no longer alone. The day a single human fleet chose to stand between innocence and destruction. And whenever a new danger appeared, people repeated the words that had become legend. Hold the line. The humans are coming. The end. If you enjoyed this HFY story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more epic sci-fi adventures where humanity faces impossible odds and proves that courage is stronger than fear. Tell us in the comments, which moment was your favorite? The arrival of the human fleet, Ghost Team's sacrifice, or the final stand against the Overlord? Until next time, keep looking to the stars, because humanity's greatest stories are still waiting to be told.